Hey YouTube, welcome to video number 13 in my little NixOS configuration series. In the last video we have created project switcher for Zelich, and somebody pointed out to me that I was completely butchering the name for Zelich. I'm still not sure if this is correct now, but I will try my best to pronounce it better this time. The script we packaged basically allowed us to fuzzy find our projects here and to load directly into Zelich with the predefined layout with NeoVim and the terminal pane and so on and so forth. And in the last video, we had transferred the configuration for all of this manually to the virtual machine. And in this video, I will show you how we will build up a home manager module for this. So we can basically have a fully declarative configuration here. So we can just install the package, declare all the options in our home manager configuration, and basically eliminate the need to copy over some dot files or configuration files. So let's get into it. This was basically the package we had created in the last video. And we had just added this to our home.nix file under our username. So that was basically here. And I'll just start off removing this again because we won't need that. As I said, we will create a home manager module for this. And in order to have a dedicated place for our own home manager NixOS modules, I will customize our folder structure a little bit. So on our main folder, I will just create a new folder and name this one modules. And under the modules folder, I will also create two other dedicated folders. So one will be home manager and the other one will be NixOS. In our home manager folder, I will start with creating a default.nix file. And then I will also create a file for the home manager module for our Zelich project switcher. And on the default.nix file, I will basically just add an import statement. Building a complete home manager module is very similar to what we have done before in our features section. For example, we had this feature set for the fish shell, and the basic structure will be the same on our full home manager module, just with some additions here. So we will start with some function arguments here. Bring config lib and packages into scope. And I will also add the same shorthand as we had on our feature sets here. So we are basically setting a variable config to shorthand config programs.zelich-ps. And here we can start building out our module content. And within a home manager module, you have two required attributes. The first one is options, and the second one is config. And basically, you can think about the options as the schema for the configuration options. So here we just define which options are available in our home manager module. And on the config part, that's basically determining how the user environment will be configured. We will come to that in a moment. On the options part, I want to use the same pattern as I would use on a regular home manager module. So I will just create an option under programs and then my package name here. In this case, I can do it like this because this is a custom made script that I wrote for myself. You have to be a little bit aware of name conflicts here. And that's exactly the reason why we had on our hosts common configurations, we had named our host specific options extra services and not services, because that was exactly done to prevent some kind of naming conflicts here. And in here, we can just start out building out our options. So first of all, we make an enable option, so we can easily say programs.zelich-ps.enable equals true to enable the module. And my second option will be the project folders. And As you might remember, our script was looking for a project folder's environment variable, and all the project folders should have been divided by a colon here. And that's also something we, of course, need to represent in our Home Manager module here. So we tell Nix to create an option here, and we also define the type of the option. And the type for the option is basically a list of paths. And that basically makes it all more precise in the end. And down here we have a description. And here we just set a default value. And in this case, just set the default value here to config home directory. And that will basically evaluate to /home/username. And then we add a /projects here. And that's the value that will be configured if the user doesn't give its own value for project folder. What I also would like to add is a layout option. And I want the layout option to provide the possibility to create a layout file for Zelich for our purpose here, and not to be reliant on an existing layout file or on copying over a layout file. So what we do here is we can just create a layout file here for Zelich in a multi-line string. Here we also have a default value like on the other one, and this will basically write out the layout file. And as I said, that is basically the schema of the options our Home Manager module will have. And down here, we need to build out the configuration for this now. And on the config part, the first thing I want to do is I make an if statement here. What we are basically doing is we are telling Nix that the enclosed block should only be evaluated if the enable option on our configuration is set to true. And here we use the shorthand we have defined up here. And now we start to add some statements here. That's very similar to how you would do it in configuring your system. So here we set home packages, and we make sure that our custom package will be added to home packages, so it is installed and available to the user. And then we create the environment variable project underscore folders, and we do that with home.session variables. And at the end here, we just use a function that is provided by lib. So this function will just concatenate all of the list entries from the project folders list and use a separator, which is a colon here. So we get the format that we need for our script to run. And then the last thing left we need to do is we will basically just write a layout file to .config zelich layouts zelich ps.kdl. As you might know, when you use Zelich, you can just make a layouts folder and then basically just place all the layout files in there. And that's basically the whole module here. Now we can use it like any other Home Manager module you have available on Nix packages. But of course, for that, we need to make some minor changes to our Flake. So I will just get back to flake.nix here. And here I make sure that we import all of our modules from the Home Manager folder over here. And we name this attribute Home Manager module, and we can just save this here. And now I want to make sure that all of the Home Manager modules we define in this folder are available to all users. So I will just go up here to the Home Common folder and default.nix. And then I will just add an import statement here. And here on the import statement, I use a built-in function from Nix, and this function is called attrvalues. And what this function basically does, it takes an attribute set. So in our case, the attribute set we have just defined in our flake.nix file, which is under outputs Home Manager modules. And this function will in the end evaluate to a list. And that's what we basically need for our import statement. So after evaluating this function, our import statement would basically look like this. And of course, if we have, I don't know, 200 modules in our home manager modules folder, you would have them all in this import statement. That's just for clarity. I will just take that away here. And now I can just go to my user folder and the home.nix file. And for now, I will just copy over my configuration I have on my main machine here. So you can have a look. And as I said, this will be basically as any other home manager module. So we have programs.zalage-ps, and here we say enable equals true. And here we give a list of our project folders. And of course, these two folders I don't have available on my virtual machine. So I will just take them out. And down here, I define the layout that I want to use. And now I can save this. And yeah, of course, I forgot to create a new branch for our new video. So I will just do that now. And of course, we need to add all the new files to our Git repo. And now I will just rebuild our system configuration and send it over to the virtual machine. So when I use the hotkey for my script, I can just go into the NeoVim folder. And here you can see we have opened a Zalage layout, and up here we have NeoVim. We can just use normally, and down here we have a terminal, and this one does not work right now because Unimatrix is not installed to my virtual machine, but that's something we would just need to add to our packages. And when we have a look into our configuration folder here, so we just cd into config Zalage layouts. You can see that we have a symlink to our Nix store to the layout we have defined in our configuration. So the config file we have defined in our home manager module has been written to the Nix store and symlinked in our Zalage config folder here. So basically everything is working now. One thing to note here is when we go back into our home manager module, you can see here we have set the environment variable for our script with the session variables. Just for you to know, if you work on a system you are logged in right now, this environment variable will be set at login. So when you rebuild your configuration and you don't log out of your system, this variable will not be available to you. So that's just something you need to be aware of when you want to try it for yourself. So that's basically all of it now. And as you can see, you can really quickly and easily build your own home manager module. So have fun trying it out. See you next time. Take care. Bye bye.